Hello, welcome to the Everyday Players podcast, game week 5. Here we are in the international break. Got the secret author, Tony Buxton.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the podcast.
We've got a special guest this week. Could be forgiven or mistaken for being on question time instead. But I've got the most argumentative man in the Northeast, Dave Rawson.
Glad to be here.
Gentlemen, how's it going? Are we all enjoying an international break?
No one enjoys it. No one enjoys international break.
Waste of time. Especially in the middle of a pandemic, we're having friendly fixtures. What's the point?
Yeah, exactly. And if you're like Chanway, you lost last week and you have to wait 2 weeks to redeem yourself. It's painful.
He's not the only one.
No, he is right. I mean, it gives you a lot of time to reflect, and I've been thinking about, pressing that wildcard button now. I've had it for 2 weeks. I'm trying to, just leave it for a week, not even think about it, but it's always there on my phone. I'm tinkering with it, and
yeah, I'm surprised you haven't yet. You keep speaking.
I massively regret using mine on week 2.
Is that when you used it, week 2? I used mine on week
straight
2.
away.
Yeah,
I lost so many amazing players. Like I started off in game week 1 with Harry Kane and Son, and then I took them both out because Spurs were rubbish against Everton. Yeah. And then the next game, that was the Son 4-goal masterpiece, Harry Kane 4 assists and a goal. So those two on their own, I lost like 50 points.
So you've missed out on some great game weeks there. Then I want to see you kicking off over that today. I want to see how angry you really are.
I know. I think it's too early to do a wild card in week 2. A lot of people I knew were wild carding in week 2, and it was just a knee-jerk reaction. You've got to give them time. And in the past, I've done that. This year, I thought I'll be a bit more patient, and I was thinking of getting rid of Son after week 2. But lucky I kept him in, and he, got that 24-point haul in week 2. And that's what I'm trying not to do too much during this week. I'm trying to not panic and do wild card, but it's hard, isn't it?
Yeah, you've got
jealous
a lot
of your position.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm doing okay points wise. 254 points. I think it's one of the most I've had like in years. Bit of a shame I've lost the last 2 in our league, which kind of changes my mentality, because even though I've done well points wise, lost the last 2, and now I'm waiting 2 weeks to rectify that. It's hard.
Yeah. I'm not a fan. I've only got the 1 win to my name so far, and it's depressing knowing that every time I've thought of a team that I would play and I changed my mind, that team would have won me the week.
I've only just got my first win under my belt, but it's a long old season, Dave. We've got plenty of time.
After the last year, after the break, after lockdown, I came back like a house on fire. I got like 100 points, 80 points, 95 points. So I'm just thinking all it takes is just one little tinker, and then you've got a team that could just, fly essentially. So I'm not panicking yet, although I did in week 2.
Yeah, but that's it. Like I said, it's still very early. Lots of time for people to mess up. So I'm the same. I'm not really panicking. I think I'm on the 3rd or 4th highest points in the league, but I'm sat like 16th or something. So tough fixtures. Like you can play good players and do all right and still lose, but lots and lots of time. I think we'll be fine there. Don't worry.
Yeah, it's true. You are 3rd in the league. I'm just looking at the points here. 3rd overall in points, and you are, as I said, 16th. You're two places above me.
What more do I have to do?
And you've got 65 more points than me.
It's a harsh game, isn't it? Head to head.
Yeah, it's torturous.
Sometimes how well you do doesn't reap the rewards of what you actually deserve. Yeah. I mean, it happened last year. One of my mates, Ant Laverick, I think after 7 weeks, he hadn't won a single game, but somehow he was the highest point scorer.
Yeah, I remember that actually. Yeah,
look at the draw in it.
It actually is. I even had another tour. I've had like good players. Like my first few fixtures were good players, good fantasy players. I even had like Steve this week, who seems like he knows what he's doing. I only just really got away with that one as well. He was only a few points behind me.
Well, you had a similar team, didn't you? And you text me and you're complaining about it, but it got you the win, and you've done very well this week, to be honest. I think you turned it around. There you are, 78 points, minus the 4-point hit, 74.
Yeah.
So you want to just talk us through that team?
Yeah, so I'll read it out for the people who are obviously listening on audio on Spotify. So I have Pope in goal, 1 point. Walker Peters, 5 points. Justin, 1 point. Sayas, 8 points. Pordens, 3. De Bruyne, 2. Salah, 26. Rodriguez, 18. Havertz, 6 points. Calvert-Lewin, 6. And Ings, 2. The two players I want to talk about is obviously Rodriguez and Sayas. Like, they're my two favourite players in my team. Sayas is just, I think, is he third or fourth highest with the points that he scored so far? So reliable.
For a defender.
Yeah, for a defender and a centre back too. Oh, well, wherever he's playing, they're playing 3 at the back hander, but he doesn't really get forward. Seems to be getting bonus in that as well. So he is staying there for the foreseeable future for me. And then Rodriguez, what a player, mate. What a player. He's been there from week 1 for me. He's just getting better and better. He's not slowing down. Was it 2 goals and an assist this week? Absolutely brilliant. Over the moon with him. Over the moon with him. The rest, obviously, Pordens didn't really live up to it. De Bruyne he's still not matching what you like last season, is he? But still very early. He's going to stay in my team. I love him a bit. And then my 2 strikers, Calvert-Lewin and Ings, I've just got them because then they won't stop scoring. And obviously, Lewin got the goal. Ings, however, my opponent didn't have him either, so that was my way to get one over. He didn't score, and they scored 2 goals. That was quite confusing for me.
Yeah, out of all people, it was Romeo and Gineppo.
Yeah.
Whatever you say it. And the goal involvement, normally it's all Danny Ings. I don't have the correct percentages. Was it something like 43% his goal contribution to Southampton last year? It was incredible.
I know.
Yeah, he just is the focal point of Southampton, really. Anything they do will go through him, aside from that one game.
Yeah, and of all weeks, I actually captained him. He was like a little bit of a differential. I was like, Ings, definitely. I had Jimenez as well, and I packed them, and they had Fulham and West Brom between them, and they both just blanked, done nothing.
Yeah, insane. Like, I couldn't believe that he didn't do anything. And this, like I say, it was one of my only players that I had over on my opponent in both leagues as well. Because in both leagues, I put as much effort into both. Because obviously, this one's more like pride with all your mates. The one's the big money. So I tried my hardest in both. And Ings was my little weapon this week, and he done nothing. If I'd have ended up losing, I'd have been really, really upset about that. Because he scores it every single week, every week.
Mm.
That's it. And I see you've got Captain Salah. Again, going to keep that on all season.
Yeah, all season. Possibly even keep it for the Everton game. No, I'm joking. Definitely keep it. I'm not changing them all season. I can't, like I've said countless times, if I start switching my captains and then Salah does well, it hurts my brain a bit. And then I end up like raging and doing silly things. So he'll just stay my captain all season. Hopefully keep getting the goals.
To be honest, he's only blanked the one game, which was the second week against Chelsea. He got 20 against Leeds. He got 5 against Arsenal, which for Salah standards, you think that's poor. But 5 to double 10 is still, better than what I've had. The last 3 weeks, I've had 3 captaincy blanks, all got 2 each, taking that to 4. So, I'd be happy with that any day.
Yeah, that's it, obviously. And if you come across someone who doesn't have Salah and you have him captained and he scores 2 or 3 like he does, that's it, game over straight away.
Yeah, exactly. So
my opponent in the other league didn't have him, and as soon as he scored them first 2 goals, I went from being like 12 behind to like 20 ahead or something, like just like that.
Yeah, it's a massive thing, really, captaincy, and that's how you gain, the bulk of your points. What is your tactics for that, Dave? Are you sticking with one player or?
Well, I've been sticking with, or at least I think I've been sticking with De Bruyne, who's not at the best of starts. But it's one of those things where you know that the second you take him out, he's going to have one of those De Bruyne games where he gets 3 assists and a goal.
Yeah.
I have been debating just sticking it with Salah because, as you know, a player like that will score against anyone. Like you said, still getting 5 against Arsenal. I know Arsenal have been a joke the past few years, but they still are a good side, and they're not the kind of team that you're going to expect to get 5 or 6 stuck past them every time in a big fixture. So Salah will still get points against the likes of them. And I feel the same with De Bruyne. I have debated, because I know we're going to talk about it, but the team I'm thinking of making for the next game week, I have took De Bruyne out, but that's purely because of Salah has been performing, and I don't know whether City are going to have a striker after the international break. I know that Aguero's back in training, but I just don't know if he's going to be fit enough to start yet. And I think that's why De Bruyne has been drawing blanks so far this season. It's because there's no striker for him to ping it into.
No, yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. I was going to say, Tony, I completely agree with that. Part of the reason why I'm debating maybe getting De Bruyne out is because they've got no striker, no Aguero, no Jesus. Sterling, he can play there, but he's not like a natural poacher. He's not a striker at the end of the day. So unless it's to him, the assists are going to dry up. And he got 20 assists last year, 22, I think, on fantasy Premier League wise. It's going to be hard for him to match that level, especially without a striker.
Yeah, so I think we just have to wait for Aguero to come back, to be honest, because Jesus just keeps on getting injuries. He's never consistently fit. And I know the same can be said for Aguero, but you know that when Aguero is fit, he will start, unless the fixtures start to pile up with the Champions League. But that's not really an issue at the moment. I know it's always going to be piled up, and because they've been without Aguero for so long, I feel like they need to go for it this year, and he's the strongest striker. So if they're going to focus on something, they're going to focus on the league to take it away from Liverpool again.
I'm surprised, actually. They didn't buy a striker, before the before the transfer window shut.
Yeah, I don't understand their transfer strategy.
Because I know that, the Jesus and Aguero might be back eventually, but it could be, another 4 or 5 games down the line at least, and, drop a few more points. Although saying that, it seems like everyone's dropping points these days, Liverpool, Villa. Are Villa just a flash in the pan at the moment, or was it just a bad day at the office for Liverpool?
I think that it was a bad day at the office in that they essentially did what Southampton did against Spurs, in that they got caught out and conceded a goal from having far too high a line and not respecting Villa enough.
Yeah.
And then they thought, well, we'll just keep doing the same thing and it'll be fine. And nobody changed it. Now, considering it was full strength, essentially, apart from, say, Mane for Liverpool, not a single leader on the pitch decided to turn around and say, right, let's drop deep and stop what the hell is going on, because, quite frankly, we're a laughingstock. Villa, I think, have made some good signings. I think they are a good side this year. They came back decent after the break last season.
Yeah.
So I think that they could be a decent side this year. I think that there's way worse teams than Villa in this league.
I don't think we have much to worry
Burnley,
about.
Fulham, West Brom, I don't think they've got a chance of staying up. So I think Villa are probably going to be confident from staying up last year. A result like Villa, like against Liverpool before the international break, they're probably going to come back and get battered in the first game after the break, just to kind of ground them again, because they'll have too lofty ambitions of how good they are. But I think that they could be a decent side this year.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree. Last week, when we were on the podcast, I said I'd expect them to do a lot better. I don't think they'll be in a relegation battle. I said maybe about 15th place they'll finish. But I also said after it, like, the Liverpool game will knock them back down a peg or two. Obviously, they went out there and absolutely smashed them, took everyone by surprise. So God knows where they could end up finishing. You have no idea. I'm absolutely loving Villa and other teams like Brighton, Everton, like, just let down teams doing great, playing class football. Like, it's really exciting to watch. I'd love to see Villa get the highest finish that they possibly could. I love the squad as well. I enjoyed the players. I love Matty Cash. I think Grealish is class. Ollie Watkins looks ready to go. Even Barkley looked decent, you know what I mean? So I'm really excited to see them this year. Can't wait to see who else they turn over.
So with Villa, do you think it's worth now turning to their assets? So Martinez, 4.7 million keeper, he's on the up. You know, you can get people like Konsa, who's only 4.6. They've only conceded 2 goals so far in the 3 games. You know, you've got their attacking ability. So Grealish, last year I thought he might have been a bit inconsistent, and I didn't think Villa were going to score enough, but come back. He's looked really fresh. They've got Barkley now. They've got Watkins. It's getting Villa players. Is it a cheap way to either keep clean sheets or a cheap way to get like an attacking player, like a midfielder that's significantly less than your Man U, Chelsea midfielders?
Yeah,
well, I think that with
oh,
go on, Tommy.
What was I going to say? Sorry, someone's downstairs shouting. Yeah, I think people are definitely going to get the players, and like you said, there's cheap options. I'm actually having a goalkeeper crisis at the minute. Probably the only position I'm not happy with. I've got one of the most expensive keepers, and he's not getting me anything. I was looking at Martinez because he makes a fair few saves, and Villa can keep a clean sheet. 4.7. I'll bank 0.8 mil there. I've already got a mil sat in the bank as well. So I'm definitely looking to do it. I already have Matty Cash, who's a cheap option. I don't know if I'll get the likes of Grealish and Watkins, but just cheaper options towards the back, where I could get myself some more money. That's like I probably will do that. Martinez is an option for me in goal anyway.
Well, for me with Villa, it's a strange one because I think that I know that Watkins got the hat-trick and he is a good player, but it's going forward, it's almost Grealish or nothing, to be honest. Without Grealish, I think that they really struggle to score because everything goes through him. Barkley's an interesting addition, but he's never had the best injury record, really. He just always seems to pick up something that will set him back, and then he takes a little while to get back in. And he looked all right against Liverpool, but how much of that was an Evertonian against the Scousers, you know what I mean? So I think that their defence could be an interesting place to get some cheap points. Like Konsa, he's now 4.6. He's had a price rise, and he's the 5th highest scoring defender so far. Mings at 5.1 is the next one up from him. But this year, I think, has proven that it's different to other seasons, and that defence isn't going to be a steady way to get points because it doesn't look like anyone can defend anymore. And especially with the handball rule, I just think it's going to be penalties left, right, and centre. So clean sheets are going to be hard to come by. So for me, with Villa, it's going to be Grealish or nothing. Maybe Martinez because he is a good keeper. So if they do get a clean sheet, he's probably going to make a few saves. But I think that there's probably better budget options, or well, maybe not better, but similar budget options than Martinez to get for a goalkeeper.
Right, that's great. And just moving on then, to our special guest, Dave. How's it going then through your season? How's it gone so far? Last season, was it disappointing or something? I mean, words?
Unless you win, it's always disappointing. This season's been no different. I've had one decent game week, to be honest with you, and it just seems like every transfer I make is messing me up. So I know I'm debating making a bunch of changes, and that's purely because of the value that I'm not getting from my expensive players. So De Bruyne hasn't returned anything for me this year. Salah is a returner. Fernandes is doing all right, but Man United are just awful. And I feel like there's going to be better value out there. Like if I was to have Fernandes, I could save money. I could save 1.5 million, I think it is, and get Son in the team. Yeah. And Son is the highest scoring player this year so far. Yeah. And if I save that 1.5 million, I can get in an extra striker or like a better second striker. I am lucky enough that I put Brewster in because I thought he was going to get a transfer and he was only 4.5. Yeah. I haven't been impressed with Sheffield United yet this year, but if he's going to be their main striker, which he should be for 23.5 million, then I think that he's almost a no-brainer because he's the cheapest option you can get aside from Keenan Davis, who I also have, who doesn't play.
Yeah.
I've been quite fortunate with some players to get me points, like Jorginho cropping up with penalties. I got that hat-trick for Vardy against Man City, but I'm always drawing a blank with my captain, and defence is just not working out for me. I mean, you can see in the team I've got, I took a hit to get Alisson in the team because I thought Liverpool against Villa, it's a surefire way to get a clean sheet there, and I've got a good defender there. It's all a good keeper. And then they go and concede 7, but he didn't even play. He got an injury out of nowhere. So I've took a points hit to get 0 points.
Yeah, a little bit unlucky there, I think, Dave.
Well, you touched on it there with Brewster. next game play against Fulham at home. Obviously, it'll be his first game that he's eligible for. Are you thinking of putting him in the team straight away, or do you think they might integrate?
I don't know. I'm really not sure whether he goes in straight away. I mean, if he's probably going to be my first substitute, but my issue is you can see there I've got Holding, and he got subbed off because he just didn't play anymore. Now Arsenal, I thought he's the cheapest option and he's playing for them. But now it seems like Arsenal are chopping and changing at the back too much. It's a bit like Man City. I'm always reluctant to put a Man City defender in because they just rotate everyone. The only players that are guaranteed to play are Edison and De Bruyne almost. And even then, when fixtures pile up later in the season, De Bruyne can get rotated out too. So it's a tough one. I think he probably will be my first substitute because I just haven't been impressed with Sheffield United at all. He might start. It just depends on who I decide with my transfers, to be honest with you. I know I've got this team that I'm debating doing, but it's
So this is it.
I haven't made my mind up. I'm waiting to see how the international fixtures go.
So
firepower.
Yeah. So we've just brought up, what you're thinking with transfers. So you got Mendy in goal, Holding, James, Digne, Justin, Lewis at the back, Jorginho, Sahar, Salah, Son, Fernandez. Then up front, you've gone for Harry Kane, Calvert-Lewin, and then Brewster as your third option. But you'll be taking possibly a minus 12 points hit if that is the case. How are you thinking on that team, and what are your thoughts as well, Tony?
Well, with this team, as you can see, I haven't changed my defence at all, even though I've just mentioned Holding didn't play in the last game, but he might play. So he's 4.5. That's as cheap as I'm really going to get at the back for a player that could play for Arsenal. The 12-point hit, I'm only thinking of doing that because my opponent has proven that he will make lots of transfers. I think he's made 2 or 3 transfers minimum every week so far and took points hits, aside from when he played as Wildcard. So I think that he's probably going to panic because his team didn't do very well last week. He's probably going to make more changes. And what I've done here is I've looked ahead a bit. You've got a few players that are in form, like Son and Kane that I've brought in, and Calvert-Lewin. But I'm looking ahead with the likes of Mendy in goal because Chelsea have a really good team this year, and they have a fairly easy fixture list coming up the next 4 or 5 games. They're not against particularly good opposition. Son and Kane are doing everything for Spurs at the moment. They're a bit like Grealish for Villa. If Spurs are going to score, it's probably going to come through one of those two. I've got Zaha, and I brought him in last week because I didn't trust Chelsea's defence. He didn't do anything for me, but Palace are another team that have a fairly easy for them fixture list coming up, and he's playing as a striker. He's one of the top scoring players so far this season overall, and he's a midfielder playing as a striker, so everything's going to go through him. So I'm just trying to choose the players that are going to be as involved as possible. I know you've got the likes of Maupay for Brighton, who's getting penalties and scoring for them, so he's an option. James is another option because he's doing everything. But aside from those, everyone else there is a set-piece taker or a penalty, set-piece, free kicks, penalties, corners with the likes of Dean, although James has taken over some of them. Or they're playing out of position like Zaha playing as a striker, so he's more likely to get the points. So I think I am likely to make the transfers that you see, but it's whether I do make all of those changes and take the full 12 points, because if it doesn't work out, it's a guaranteed loss almost.
Yeah. What do you think, Tony?
Yeah, well, like you're saying there, Dave, with your opponent, if he does make changes, say you take your minus 12 and then your opponent takes minus 4, minus 8, then you can get that team with all that firepower. You could easily blitz ahead of him. Your defence, like near enough every player minus Holding is capable of getting goals, well, definitely assists at least, and a couple of them can score too. So there's plenty of points even in your defence. That's even before your midfield, where like your firepower is. Salah, Son, Jorginho taking all those penners. Like, it has huge potential to get mega points. And obviously, if Brewster starts scoring for Sheffield United, you could be onto a good team. So it could be worth the minus 12 for how many points you're going to get in the coming weeks out of that team. It might be worth it. Even if you ended up losing that game week, it could be worth it.
I think it's a good team in the long run. I mean, I could not take a 12-point hit and take an 8-point hit, and I could keep Vardy in instead of Kane.
Yeah.
Because Vardy is still the penalty taker. For Leicester, but I think if I remember correctly, Leicester have a fairly tough fixture list coming up. But then again, Vardy scores against anyone, like a hat-trick against City. He's a big game player, as Jamie Vardy. He scores against the likes of Liverpool. He scores against City. He scores against Spurs. He scores against United. So I could save the hit there, but it's just Spurs are looking so good at the moment. Aside from that first game week, they're just on fire now. So
yeah, Vardy could be the better option.
So long as I keep my money out of defence, almost, I've got a couple of standout players like Dean at 6 mil. But Everton are just a great side this year. I could change him for Coleman down the line and save a bit of money, and I'm getting almost the same effect. But it is just a case of,
isn't he? Or
pardon?
possibly injured.
Well, Coleman.
Yeah, Coleman. I don't know.
Yeah, he's not got the best injury record at all. But my approach for the rest of this season, I think, is going to be firepower. Not going to be defence. I'm not going to play with 5 at the back like I have tried at points so far this season. It's just going to be 3-5-2 or 4-3-3, maybe if Brewster starts banging them in. But it is just going to be get those set piece takers on there. Because so long as this handball rule is in play, it's going to be penalties galore.
Well,
yeah.
That's it, Dave. I mean, you mentioned, a little bit your tactics on defence here. Got a bit of a quick fire question round now for you, inside the manager's mind. So try not to think about it too much, but just giving you a couple of options. You just pick what if, and then what we'll do, we'll get a bit of input from myself, bit from Tony, just, a little bit of fun. So try not to think about it too much, right? Question 1, do you play the long game and trust the players, or risk it and take a -4 points hit?
I know what I think, but what I do is different. I think I should play the long game, but I'm too emotional. I'm too much of a knee-jerk manager, and I do take the hits.
Okay.
But if I make this team, it's going to be long game.
Right. Okay. Captaincy, play it safe, or do you like going for a differential?
I like going for a differential.
Right, okay. Strong defence or any old cheap defenders?
Normally strong defence, not this year though.
Salah, Mane or De Bruyne?
Salah and
You
Mane.
had to pick one.
Oh, pick one. Salah.
Right, okay.
All of them, please. I'll have all 3.
Are you a rage transfer type of manager, or do you think about it patiently throughout the week?
Oh, I'm a constant tinkerer.
Right. Strong bench or any old cheap players?
Strong bench.
Right. Who is your FPL guilty pleasure team? Like a team that you always tend to have players from?
I don't know, It probably is Everton.
I think that's a lot of people's choice, I think, this year. They
always got really good players.
At the start of the year, I mean, I'll try and move quick, but start of the year, I was thinking, no, I don't want anyone from Everton. After 1 week, bang, like everyone flooded to them. But, right, tougher one. Would you rather support Newcastle or Sunderland?
Newcastle.
What was that?
Newcastle, hands down.
Any reason why?
I live there. I can at least enjoy it.
You might get battered in the streets.
Well, I mean, I'll just fit in a little bit more with my mates up here.
Finally, who will finish higher in the league this season? Matthew Chan or Dave Rawson?
Dave Rawson.
Wrong answer.
Brilliant. I love
it. What would you think of some of them questions then, Tony? Do you agree with some of them? Are you a bit of a hothead rage transfer? What about bench? Do you have a strong bench? Or?
Yeah, this year I've completely changed the way I play the game now. Like, I'd never go for a strong bench before. Now I do. Like, I have a pretty solid bench. I'd choose Salah out of them 3 top dogs as well. My guilty pleasure is probably also Everton. I had Rodriguez from the start, and obviously fallen in love a little bit with Villa. So between them two, yeah, they're my two guilty pleasures. And out of me and you, finishing high, definitely me.
A lot of confidence. A lot of confidence for guys that don't even make the first page of the league table.
4 games.
I've got enough points for everyone to win the league.
Right, okay. Well, to finish it off then, got a little bit of a quick game that's going to involve both of you, actually. So a little bit of teamwork. A little bit like Family Fortunes, but I'll just have you both in the same room. I've got 2 minutes. You need to name a player from each Premier League team, but you can't have the same one. So I'll let you know when the...
Oh, why did I just feel half my brain fall out there?
Exactly, because you're under pressure.
Yeah,
right?
Are we going one team at a time? Or?
Yeah, but what I'll do, obviously, we'll go alphabetically to make it easier. Right. Start the 2 minutes. Who's starting first? Tony, do you want to start first? Just alternate Tony, Dave, Tony, Dave, Tony, Dave, like that.
Okay. Are you going to like name the team for me? Or do I have to just...
Yeah, I'll name the team, but I'll go alphabetically. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Arsenal.
William.
Lacazette.
Sorry?
Lacazette.
Okay. Aston Villa.
Grealish.
Mings.
Brighton.
Trossard.
Mopai.
Burnley.
Tarkowski.
Wood.
Chelsea.
Timo Werner.
Havertz.
Crystal Palace.
Zaha.
Benteke.
Everton.
James Rodriguez.
Richarlison.
Fulham.
Mitro.
Oh, crap. Cabano.
Yeah, Leeds.
Bamford.
Harrison.
Leicester.
Vardy.
Mendy.
Liverpool.
Joe Gomez.
Matic.
Man City.
Kyle Walker.
Edison.
Man United.
Lindelof.
Rashford.
Newcastle.
Dubravka.
Lewis.
Sheffield United.
Brewster.
McBurney.
Southampton.
Ings.
Romeo.
Spurs.
Lloris. Why am I struggling with that?
Kane.
West Brom.
Callum Robinson.
Pereira.
West Ham.
Antonio.
Cresswell.
Wolves.
Traore.
Jimenez.
Oh, well done. You both managed to do it just in time. 1 minute 47 you got there.
There was some questionable first names in the brain there.
Joe Gomez for Liverpool.
All the Liverpool players, Joe Gomez and Matty.
Hey, God. Brilliant. I love it.
I don't know how that ended, but well done anyway. You both showed you've got some great teamwork between yourself to get that done.
We haven't looked at your team.
Yeah, well, that's it. I'm proving that. I'm showing them. I'm keeping that close to my chest for this week.
Cheat.
We will see. I'm having to tinker about because I don't know whether I'm going to wildcard or not.
Oh, you may as well.
It was an okay week, but I mean, a lot of it is to do with Son, and I think I'll have a breakdown on next week's podcast about it. How Son didn't play.
Yeah,
he probably won't, will he? You'll bring him in, captain him, and he'll be injured after 20 minutes.
Yeah, you're having a private battle with him. I do this every season. I have a private battle with one player where they're in and out, and I'm getting them, and then when I don't have them, they're doing well every year. So you just keep clear of him. Use your wild card. You don't want to lose sleep over it. You've been talking about it. Get it done. I'll send you my team over if you want.
Yeah, of course. Well, anyway, during this international break, that's it. What we've got for this week. We'll have another podcast just before next game week. You enjoyed it today, Dave?
Yeah, it's been good fun. Thanks for having us.
First
Tony?
guest, mate. You'll always be remembered now for being.
No, I'm down in history now.
Might have to even push Ryan out and get you on.
I'll be fine with that.
Hey, at least you had the confidence to come on, actually. We had a few friends turn it down, get a little bit shy and a bit camera shy, so...
That's not me.
No, now you love talking, don't you?
I'm not a shy man.
You're great, though. You've been a wonderful guest. Insightful, good at talking. Probably could just have you on for the full 40 minutes, and me and Tony will just let you control everything.
Yeah.
I can fill the whole 40 on my own. We know that.
It's great, though. Well, thanks for coming on anyway. But for this week, bye from me. Obviously, bye for Tony, Dave. Obviously, don't remember to comment, like, subscribe. We're also on Twitter and Facebook on the Everyday Players FPL, on Anchor, Spotify. Bye for now.
Thanks very much. Goodbye, everyone.
See you later.